Hello, welcome to the Scale Modelling Cafe. Welcome to another Sprue Tour. And the subject of this one, as you can see, is the Kotare Spitfire. This is the early boxing. It has the option for the two-bladed prop, the early canopy, the pole mast, and all the other details to make essentially a pre-war and early war Spitfire Mark 1A. It also has the option, though, as you'll see a little bit later when I open the box, the three-bladed prop, the later modified canopy, the later mast and things like that. And I'm going to be building this next. So right after this, I'm going to shoot the part one and then open the box and start spraying and snipping. The Kotare Spitfire caused a bit of a stir when it was first released, the first boxing, which was the mid, obviously done in Aldir's markings, he being arguably the most famous New Zealand fighter pilot of the Second World War, certainly from the early part of the war. And for those of you who don't know, probably we all do, but Kotare, new company that has kind of risen out of the ashes of Wingnut Wings. So it's all the key players from that previous company. And essentially, it can be thought of that this is imagine what a Wingnut Wings Spitfire would be like, and this is it. So we're extremely lucky to have it, and kudos to those fellas of picking themselves up and getting going again. So well done them. It is not without its controversies, it will be said. Yeah, there's innovative mouldings going on, but one thing has been some of the colourings in the decals and things like that. I'm going to be spraying my own markings when I build mine, so that's not so much of a concern, if I'm honest. But it looks like a great package. So I'm going to stop waffling now, and let's head over to the bench, crack open the box, and see what's inside for the first time. The first thing that will strike you with the box is this beautiful box art, this painting, name down here, Darryl Legg, and it's just phenomenal. What a beautiful piece of box art. On the sides, some gouge about the Mark 1 Spitfire, the three schemes, and these are the two with the early sort of two-bladed prop. You can see the pole mast there, and this has got the flat canopy, this has got the later canopy, and then this one, and I'm gonna do not this particular aeroplane. I'm gonna do 72 Squadron, but this configuration with the three-bladed prop, the later pitot, but I'm going to do the later mast. This has got the pole mast with the armoured windscreen and stuff. Blah, gouge, blah. So let's open the box. Instructions, we'll have a look at that. Those in just a tick, and then the sprues. And the first thing that strikes you really is there's not much to it, actually. Not much to it at all, which can only be a good thing. There's a bit of a philosophy going on. Here's the decal sheet. Let's just put those out the way there. Right, while we're here, let's have a look at the decals. So a little bit controversial in that some of the colours have been described as a bit off. These, however, look really good. The medium sea grey colours. Although, interestingly, this option here seems darker than this option. So that's interesting. One that's quite difficult to get right is the red, but that looks spot on to me, as does all the colours actually. And you'll notice that it's not an actual perfect circle. There's a little bit of a kind of wobble, if you like, to the lines, which is prototypical. That is really accurate doing like that. and I really like that. It's a really neat touch. The other neat touch is if you have a look here at the gun patches, they're wobbly because all it was strips of fabric, and it was just sort of doped on to keep the dust out, and then the guns would fire. The first round would punch the hole, but they weren't that neat, and that is replicated. So I really love that. Here's some of the instrument decals. I shan't be using those because I've got a resin replacement. But yeah, printed by Cartograph, so you know they're going to work beautifully. So decals, big tick. Instruction booklet. Now this is a real highlight of the kit, and lots of gouge. As you can see, paint mixes then, so Tamiya Humbrol and then the FS or BS equivalent. I'm not really a fan of FS numbers for British aeroplanes, but they have put the BS code where required. They're not exactly equivalent, but there are all these Tamiya mixes, which is a nice touch, and two different types of interior. As you can see, there's the grey green and there's the supermarine interior green, which was both of them actually were semi-gloss. Two different types of dark earth as well, a dark and a pale. Two types of dark green, a dark and a pale. So real attention to detail. Parts map has got some obviously parts, the generic sprues, and obviously these aren't required, including this spinner and prop. And then this is an absolute feature. I'll just move that out of the way. This is an absolute feature of Kotare, as it was with Wingnut Wings, is just how this is laid out. The full colour, the different colours to show you where bits go where, all the colour call outs, and what is fantastic are these reference photos. And these are great because you can add extra wiring if you need to, or if you fancy it. Just absolutely brilliant. Very comprehensive painting guide for the instrument panel. These are all the decals, and that will look lovely, I'm sure. Optional parts for the armour. Now the armour plate here is called out for black, which is unusual. I thought it would be interior green, but that's my naivety. It was black, and you got the yellow circle on the back, so that really reminds me of the pilot seat in things like Mosquitoes and Lancasters, is the yellow circle. Bit of a half circle here. I'll probably paint mine. And actually the seat, two options. You can use the moulded in seat belts, or you can use without and then add your own. I'm doing this one. And then here you can see the advantage of the full colour, because you can see the grey green versus the supermarine green, and then these areas down the back are black. This is in silver or aluminium. It wasn't unpainted, it was painted in lacquer. I don't think there's any other instructions that come close to this. It tells you where to drill out the lightning holes. You're going to want to do it on these frames because they are solid. Again, reference photos all the way through, and here you can see a load of wiring specific to specific types. Just absolutely brilliant. This is easy to forget, apparently, the prop shaft, so don't forget that. Separate panels, and they don't fit absolutely perfectly, just like the real thing. That's not a get out clause by Kotare, it's done deliberately. And you get now a sense of the breakdown of the kit with the separate panels, optional armoured or unarmoured fuel tank cover. I'm going armoured on mine, so I'm going to sort of a later early, if that makes sense. There's that separate spine insert. Just absolutely brilliant. Telling you to remove all these bits and bobs for the very early version, and photographs of the very early version as well. Photos all the way through. here's those separate wing fillets. And I know some people have followed the instructions, and I know some people have glued these parts to the fuselage, and I get the impression, follow the instructions for the best result. Setting the angle of the undercarriage legs, very reminiscent of the Edward 109 that I've just finished in 72nd scale, how that's done. But you're probably going to have to trim off a little bit, and it tells you in the instructions there. Real attention to detail on things like painting here, pointing out some undercarriage bits and the carb intake. Just absolutely brilliant. And so it goes on. Right, these cut and drill for more detail. I thought I'd ordered some resin replacements of these, but I can't seem to find them. So maybe I forgot, or maybe they didn't arrive, which is a real pain in the hoop. So I'm going to have to cut and drill for more detail in accordance with that. And again, you have photographs of the real thing, beautifully rendered profiles, and all the gouge that you've got. And I've got a real connection to this one because Henry Cousins, who flew this aeroplane on 19 Squadron, I flew on 19 Squadron in flying training on the Hawk. In fact, I was on the very first student course on 19 Squadron. And he flew with 25 Squadron, which was my first frontline squadron. So really, I ought to do this one. But I'm not going to. Second option, again, 19 Squadron, Grumpy, so Sergeant Irwin, as he was at the time. And again, all the details and all the little idiosyncrasies of the specific aeroplane being pointed out. And then this is a beautiful picture. Look at that wing root weathering. I'm definitely going to be doing something like that. And I'm going to lean towards this one when I do mine. So the 3-bladed prop, the armoured windscreen, the bubble canopy. This has got the early radio mast, but I'm going to go for the later one. I just prefer the look. But all this gouge and the detailed photos, and it's telling you all these different quirks. I just think that's absolutely phenomenal. And it doesn't stop. And look at this beautiful colour photograph, look. Whoops. Just stunning set of instructions. And kudos to all these guys. These guys are Kotare. Just brilliant. I could do this, couldn't I? JH, because that's me, JH. There we are. Doesn't get better than that, I think you'll agree. Right, let's have a look at the plastic then. Let's go for the big sprues first. And let's have a look at the wings. So we'll just zoom in a smidge. Like that. If I run my finger over here, I can feel raised detail. So these panels are ever so slightly raised, just like the real thing, which is absolutely brilliant. Same on the top. The gun panels are slightly raised. There's a little bit of texture to the plastic, just a little bit. So I'll probably give that a polish. And then you can just about make out, I think, if I move it in the light, the internal structure from underneath. And then if I turn it over, you can see all these strengthening ribs inside. And that does flow to the outside. So I may change my mind actually, and I may end up riveting the wings. I'll have to wait and see. These are the separate fillets. The fabric ailerons with really nice fabric effect there. The strips over the top. Very, very deep. I've just noticed actually gun ejector ports are solid, but they're really deep. That's a really good touch. Really like that. And a beautifully rendered control column with the wiring on. That's absolutely stunning. Love that. Right, where's the fuselage halves? So we'll do the main bits first and then go for the detail. Right, let's have a look. Oops, sorry, just not the microphone. Let's have a look at the raised rivets. So raised panel on the back. Yeah, they are prominent. Oh, hang on, let me bring in the... I should have done this first, shouldn't I? Let's bring in the light. So this is going to help. I'll just move that. So you can see the raised rivets there. I've got a feeling that might be quite prominent actually under paint. It doesn't look that prominent now, but I think with a coat of primer they're going to stand out quite well. So I may well just sort of very lightly sand those down a little bit. Tailplanes are very plain. Obviously no riveting detail on there. Rudder, obviously fabric, beautifully done. Some cracking detail on that. Same for the elevators, one piece and no doubt posable. The separate cowlings, fastener detail is beautifully done. That's absolutely spot on. That's a real thing with British aeroplanes, is manufacturers tend to do these far too big and far too proud. But they're perfect. Wing spar, that's going to set the dihedral, and obviously there's some detail for the gear bays there. It's the under cowling. Recessed rivets on there, on that centre section. And then those cowl pieces will just sit on here. So it'd be dead easy to paint the exhaust manifold bit, housing, blah. Probably paint that black. Stick these over the top and then the exhaust will just stick straight in there. And then here, this looks like to be the later armoured cowling, because it hasn't got the rivets over the top. So that's the one I'll be using, I suspect. And then the cockpit floor, with all the rivets showing, and that's beautifully detailed as well. So really exciting, just going through the sprues. I'm looking forward to starting this. All right, let's have a look at this sprue. Right, just going to be careful because that's the front of the carb intake and the later pitot probe, which obviously I'm going to be using. Might even replace that with a bit of brass actually, but we'll see. Right, where to start here then? Okay, I'm not sure if this is the prop I'm going to be using or not. This might be the extra one. But the wheels, straight away, I can see they're hollow. Obviously in two parts. Probably one of my first jobs will be to glue those together. Same for this. What's this, flare chute or something? And the exhausts. So the two-part exhausts. So as mentioned, I'm going to be drilling those out because I haven't got my resin replacements, which is a right pain in the bum. Wheel wells, one piece for the circle bits. Just lovely, just all over lovely. Now this is what I was mentioning before, just here on the radiator, is where the rivets are, is a depression in the metal, which is just beautiful attention to detail. I just absolutely love that. Fuselage frames. Yeah, they're going to be drilled out. definitely. That's going to make a big difference. Here's those undercarriage legs, and you can see the mounting lugs here, which do get cut down, but that's going to set the angle for you. And then the gear doors, flat, not curvy bulged. They're flat on the Mark 1 with raised rivet detail on the inside. And obviously lots of little greebly bits. There's the prop shaft, don't forget that. Some cockpit stuff. Yeah. Expertly moulded. Right, this is specific to the early Mark 1 then. So we've got different cowlings, the different spine. This is the early unarmoured top cowl with the rivets, or I might have got that the other way around. I'm assuming because this is on the two-bladed prop, this is the early one with a different cowling top as well. There's the early pitot. We'll see that two-bladed prop with the spinner cap here. Instrument panel, doors, ring and bead sight. That's beautifully done. This is for some spin thing on the rudder at the back end. This is a gun camera that's sat on top of the wing. That's an optional part. And here's the early exhausts. So specific to the Mark 1, that one. Again, all beautifully done. Yeah, nothing there. Just get rid of that. Moulding pip. Right, another spinner prop. Again, I might be using this one, I don't know. This has got a blunter spinner. And lots of cockpit details here. So obviously your sidewalls, and this is a feature of Kotare to try and keep the parts count down. So you've got the throttle, these bottles at the back. This is the oxygen tank. So all these features are not separate parts, they're moulded in one, which I really like. Multi-part seat. These lightning holes are all drilled out, which is nice. Yeah, I mean, you could get away with this one, with the moulded in seat harness, I would say. But, yeah, I'm going to be going for this one here. Firewall, I'd imagine this is. And the beautifully done instrument panel, the early one. I'll probably just replace the wiring here, because that's a little bit flat. I'll probably just add my own wiring over the top. There is the hand pump for the undercarriage and various other cockpit bits and pieces, and weighted wheels on the tail wheel, which is all moulded in one. It might be nice to have that separate actually, but overall, yeah, brilliant piece of moulding that. I don't know what this is. This is another cockpit side part. I'll leave that in there. Don't know why that's in there. I'm sure it'd be in the instructions somewhere. And then the last bit are the clear parts. So the windscreen, the armoured windscreen, this is the one I'm going to be doing, the option, has actually come away. But that is beautifully clear. As you can see, optically, I can't see much distortion on that whatsoever. Rivet detail as well. That is fantastic. And then if we look at the others, all these different options. So obviously I'm going to be doing mine open using this option and this option here. So you could use these for masking off the canopy. But yeah, brilliant. Nice and clear. Just having a look underneath. All round beautiful. There we are. That is the Kotare Spitfire. Relatively simple build. The engineering looks fantastic. and I can't wait to get started, frankly. So let's just pop back to the chair and we'll have a bit of a chat. There we are. I think you'll agree, what a great package. What really makes it, I think, is the instructions lifted straight out of the Wingnut Wings copybook. They were renowned for the quality of their instructions, and you know, the inclusion of photographs I think is absolutely wonderful and extremely clear. The engineering in the kit breakdown with those separate wing root fairings as well, from what I've seen of builds online, that works extremely well. The sort of the one thing that, it's not that it lets it down, but the raised rivets on the under fuselage, obviously they solved it on the top with that separate insert, which from what I've seen again online fits extremely well. You are going to lose some raised rivets from underneath, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of them and I'm going to replace them with some 3D printed raised rivets, which I think is going to work really well. I hope, inshallah, as they say out here. But overall, what a fantastic package. Just some of the rendering of the detail, the attention to detail, you know, the sort of the depression where they've done the big rivets and fasteners, where it's deformed the metal and they've reproduced that, is absolutely amazing. And it's just going to be a joy to build, I'm sure, and I can't wait to get started. So without further ado, I'm going to leave it there and I'm going to get cracking. So thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.